Bria here from Etched Actuarial, and in today's video I have an amazing interview with JD. JD is a member of the Actuary Accelerator Community, and he just recently got his first actuarial job. I am so excited for him. He is excited. The members of the Actuary Accelerator Community are all so excited for him, and I brought him on today to share some really important information with you that's going to help you on your actuarial journey. During this interview, you're going to learn how JD switched from going in a completely different direction with his career and then ended up focusing on the actuarial career and obviously getting his first job. We're also going to talk about the technical skills, the exams that he passed, and the related experience that he had. These are the three pillars of being an in-demand actuarial candidate. So this interview is going to be value-packed no matter where you are on your journey to getting your first actuarial job. I know it's going to give you tons of insight, so let's get into it. Oh, hey, before we get into that, are you on Instagram? Because we are. Right now, go follow us at Etched Actuarial to get tons of actuarial tips, study advice, and lots of funny math memes too. You can follow us at Etched Actuarial, and I will leave a link to that account right down below in the description. So pause the video and go follow us now. And then come back to get JD's inspiration and tips to achieve your actuarial goals. Okay. Let's start for real now. Hi everyone, today I'm here with JD and he has just recently gotten an actuarial analyst position. I'm so happy for him. So today we are going to talk about how he got to where he is today, everything that led up to getting this job, and maybe even a little bit about what he's been doing so far. All right, so welcome JD.
Hey, thanks for having me.
No problem. I'm really looking forward to this conversation because you have been such an inspiration, I know, to so many people already in our Actuary Accelerator group, and you've just come so far in such a short amount of time. So I'm excited to share what you've done with everyone else and help them and motivate them too. First of all, let's talk a little bit about first why you decided you wanted to be an actuary in the first place.
Oh, okay. All right. So this is a little bit of a story, and I have to kind of back up a bit, just a story. So originally, my undergrad is in biology, which is not, I don't think I've met another person like me that's in this position.
I have not, but that's really interesting. It's, a lot of people are worried that their degree doesn't fit with actuarial work. So it's really exciting that you have got a biology degree and you still got into actuarial work. So yes, explain that a little bit.
Oh yeah. And I will also always stress that don't ever say career changers, say diverse background, because in reality, people change in their 30s, people change in their 40s. That's not the issue. The issue is, can your skills translate to a new position? Mm-hmm. That's what matters the most. But going back, so I did start in biology and I was originally going to be a PA. I was actually going to work in pediatric oncology.
Okay.
So I was really going for it. And
very different.
very, very off the spectrum. Even for PA standards, when I told several doctors that I wanted to go into oncology, especially pediatrics, they just looked at me and said, "Is there something wrong with you?" Oh. So it's a niche field within.
Hey, some people say that about actuaries too. So.
I've been told, some people said, "You just like to suffer through exams?" Yeah. I said, yes, otherwise I wouldn't be here. Well, so when I was going for PA programs, I really wanted just a very vast experience. I wanted kind of just go off the walls and a little bit of a Hogwarts experience. I'll be honest, I was a totally Harry Potter nerd. So I said, you know what? I'm going to London. And I did. They had PAs over there. They had just started in 2006 or 7. So they didn't have them for very long. PAs being physician assistant.
Okay.
So I ended up going to London and I was working in one of the practices as part of my residency. So during the first year, you work in a general practice, just kind of, general medicine. And as I was there, I got to perform some audits for these people. And so I really got to start working with healthcare data. Wow. And this is where it kind of all started. Okay. So as I was working with the data, I was going, they're not seeing patients like they're supposed to. Why aren't they reviewing them? This person came in for a stubbed toe. Why does it sit there and say that they had, an asthma review? They didn't have an asthma review. Wow. And they're going, we can improve this. We could do a lot better than this. So this is where the drive started coming from. I ended up sitting there and doing several audits, even though I was supposed to only do one. I ended up doing more and more, going, we need to look at this, we need to look at this, and this. And I started reporting my findings going, hey, I need you to not sit there and mark this as a review. I need you to sit there and really actually have that, you know, one-on-one with the patient when you do these things. So that's kind of where I got started. And it was a little bit, I know this is gonna not be a great answer to everyone, and people don't like to hear this, but it was more of a gut feeling that medical was not for me.
Okay.
So as I was,
there's lots of people feeling that, like maybe the career they're in, it's just not what they feel like is right for them, or they're just feeling like they have to go to work every day, but they're not really loving it. So I'm sure a lot of people are actually in that situation.
And that's why I even said that in interviews, I said it was a gut feeling. And I go, but I don't think of that as a bad thing, because, you know, sometimes you just got to go with, I'm not happy. That's not a bad thing. It's good to recognize that you aren't happy with something and then go from there.
For sure. So, I love that.
Yeah, and that's why. So my friend was a programmer. And so he kind of said, you know what, you might be really good as a data analyst role. Something along those lines, because you obviously love data, you love numbers, you're good at math, go for it. So I went and started looking at different programs, and that's where I started looking at switching to a different master's. So I ended up doing a master's called Computing and Information Systems, which was half analyst, half programming based, kind of could go either way.
Okay.
And so I was still very data driven. So I was going to use the master's more so to go the data route and go into the more finance sector, which is where I wanted to go, finance and healthcare sector. Okay. Well, as I was picking out my classes, there was a class called, I think it was Bayesian Decision Theory and Risk Analysis. And when I started looking this up, and the word actuary came up. And I said, I've heard this term. What is it? And so I really started looking into it, and it was just awesome. I said, you know what? These are data gurus. They really get to work with the data like I wanted to be able to do. And they get to, you know, report their findings, and people listen. Yeah. Listen to them. I said, all right, this is cool. And they're really good at math. I said, all right, I'm going to do this. So while I was in the UK, I did take the Institute of Actuaries, their first exam, which is the equivalent in the US and Canada as exam P. Okay. So I went to take that one first. And I had a very, very high mighty mind that I'm good at math. I don't need to study. I bought the book, barely went through it, and I somehow made a 5. I don't know how.
So for those of you that are listening and don't know, you have to get a 6 in order to pass. So a 5 is getting so close, but just on the edge of passing.
Right. Well, so it was a very humbling experience, and I'm glad I had that. And I said, something's got to change for me to do this. And then I went to take it a second time while I was still in London, and I made a 4.
Oh, no.
You would think you go a little higher, and no.
Yeah.
And it was very discouraging. I said, all right, well, at this point I was moving back to the States. So I said, all right, I'm going to take the exam when I come back. And some of the material transferred, some of it didn't. So I did restart, and I started originally on TIA, and then I kind of switched over to coaching actuaries. Well, I took it a third time, and I failed it again.
Oh, no.
And I didn't look at my score until after I had passed it the second time, or the fourth time, really. I took it. Okay. I made a 1.
Oh, no. I don't know what's happening here.
Yeah, no. So I understand. You got to be very resilient with these things to just understand. And then I took it, the 4th time, and I made an 8. So clearly, understanding what I was supposed to do kind of started clicking. And I wish I had even joined your program a lot earlier, because I would have not sat there and done the wrong things 4 times for over 2 years. So that's really how I got into actuarial, was because of those audits and working with healthcare data, switching to a different master's, and then just taking the exams from there. So that's really where I got the start from. I know that was a very big story for that little.
Yeah, but I loved it because it's such a unique journey that probably not a lot of people have. But I do think there are a lot of people, like we said earlier, that are sitting in jobs and they want to do something different, but they aren't convinced that maybe they can become an actuary, or they just don't know if it's the right move for them, and it can hold you back from even trying. But I'm glad that you went for it, and I really think that happiness is important in your career. So if you're not happy, then you should just try, and you never know if you don't try, right? So
right. Yeah. And I even have to say, it definitely coming as a career changer. Now, I'm fortunate that both of my parents are math teachers, but even as I was taking these exams, they would mention little comments of, you might want to do something different if you can't pass these. And I'm going, all right. And, you know, I think one of the best philosophies is to just live well. So I just kept going for it. And I told them, I don't care if I take this exam 50 times and fail. At some point I'm passing. Yeah, and exactly. That's when I'll stop. And that's really what kept me going. And now I'm up to 3 now, studying for the 4th one. Awesome. And I love it. I love to keep going like this. So
awesome. That is so such a motivational story. So you had exam P, FM, and IFM passed when you got your actuarial analyst position, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So you had those 3. Another thing that employers look for are technical skills. So can you tell us a little bit about how you gained your technical skills? I know you were doing a lot with your previous company, doing the data analyst kind of thing. But where did you learn those skills in the first place?
So part of my master's definitely was the programming side. So I did a little bit of Java, a little bit of Python, and a little bit of SQL. And they did that because those are some of the main 3 when you do go into the more programming or analyst side. Mm-hmm. So when I came back to the States, I had originally joined a company called FDM Group, which is more of a contract company. They really help beginning people kind of get their start, more so in tech positions. Okay. But when I did join them, I said, hey, I know that I'm probably going actuarial. I still don't have the exams though. Do you mind if I go for a more data-oriented position? I go, because I need those skills for when my contract's up. Mm-hmm. And they said, all right. And so they kept waiting and they worked with me, and I ended up getting into a very data-oriented developer role. Wow. So that's really where I got into that. So from there, I've been working for Bank of America, which I can fully say now because I'm going to be leaving. So I was working for Bank of America, and I was mainly working with SQL because we worked with a lot of transactional data. Okay. So that's how I got into, you know, really using those technical skills, really, oh, wow, just the massive amount of data that came through is in the billions of records. So, you know, going from the college setting of, oh, we have a table of 40 that I'm dealing with to billions, it's just, it's overwhelming. Mm-hmm. So that's even beyond Excel then. You can't even probably put that much data into Excel. No. So a lot of where I got the Excel skills from were because I would have to take those records, because we would get duplicates or just error records, and I would put a small sample into Excel and then be able to analyze it that way. Okay. That's really where the Excel starts coming into play. And as I also was working and still studying, if there was ever, you know, a weekend where I had a couple of hours, I would go through some Excel training. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm looking for the goal. I wanted to be, you know, an actuary. So it's a little sad that you have to kind of put the extra effort into it in the beginning. But really, if you want to switch, you've got to be able to put the extra effort beyond just exams as well. Yes, for sure. Like the technical skills are a big part for actuarial employers. I couldn't think of my words there, but yeah, that's a huge factor. And I love how you also were using it at work, but also trying to learn more and more and more. And you will really have to be like an Excel ninja when you start working, because employers are so looking for that kind of person, and you use it all the time in actuarial work. And as I was even told a lot for the beginning positions, it's not that they don't mind helping you, but on the technical side, you kind of need to be able to pick it up on your own, or be able to apply something. So at least be advanced enough where, hey, I can go look this up online and then apply it and do it. Great. They want to be able to help you more with the actuarial work of how do you get to the final answer. Yeah. So that is why the technical skills are important, because they really don't have the time to train you up to that level. Right. And as I'm sure you know, the mentors, whenever you go in and you're a baby actuary, I mean, there is a lot of time on their hand to build you up. They know it. But you were a liability at this point. You were extra time, you were extra work. So the less that they have to do, the better.
Exactly.
So,
exactly. And another thing too is that, oh, sorry.
No, that was fine. That was just in a nutshell. That's exactly what, I sum it up.
I was just going to say, and another thing too, is that the competition right now is that like, it's so high, and a lot of candidates do have those technical skills. So if you really want to stand out, you do need to at least be competitive in terms of your technical skills with everyone else that's applying, because they are so important. So awesome. I love that you took the time to go ahead and learn some of it yourself. You're using it in your actual job, which is great. And you got related experience, which is also another thing that employers are looking for. So what would you say in the interview process? What were some of the things that they really found beneficial in hiring you? Or what were some of the things they were interested in about you?
I'll go down two paths with this. One, if you do code for some of the bigger companies, they are going to look for more standard, math background, actuarial science, physics, something of a math background.
Okay.
So that is something I did find when I was going for it. And I have a perfect example. My director that I will be working under right now used to work for Millie Man. Mm-hmm. And he worked for them for 12 years. I applied to Millie Man multiple times for multiple different ones. And they always said you had to have some type of bachelor math or stats or something like that background. And I didn't have it. So they rejected me. Oh. But in the interview, I asked him, was there something, is there anything about my candidacy that would cause him concern or some hesitancy? And he said, actually none. He goes, you're great. You're absolutely awesome on paper. And I go, this is so odd. This is someone that is from a company I applied to, worked there for so long, and yet is saying I'm great for this company. So it really comes down to, I think you just have to present yourself well, and you might have to just look a little bit outside the box, not just at the big name companies, because sometimes those smaller companies are really willing to work with you. Yeah. So what I found in the interview process is to just emphasize a lot of my technical skills.
Right. And so important. Like,
oh, I did. Yeah. The very first thing out of my mouth was usually SQL, followed by Excel, followed by R. It was in that order. I just had it listed out. And I also sold my story that, I have failed exams before. And it's not a problem, but I kept going, and I'm going to keep going. And that I planned on going all the way to fellow. And so I think a lot of what they want to see is that your willingness to learn, you've got the technical skills, and just that you're eager to keep going. Yeah. So I think that did set me apart, because I do know some people after a first couple will drop out. Yeah, it's inevitable. But if you say, no, I already want to do this, I've got a plan, those were big. And another really, really key factor I was asked in every single interview was, what was my study strategy? Oh, every single one asked me that. Wow. It is now a requirement that they want to know, how are you going to get to the next level? Because they want to make sure that you can do it. So something that I would have to say that did kind of stand me out against most of the competition is that I was going against a lot of graduate students. Well, they had, an internship or two, plus, they're in college able to do it. They have a lot more time on their hand. I go, I've been working full time and taking these exams. Yeah, that's just as hard. Yeah, this is already what I'm doing. The only difference is that I'm switching jobs. In reality, I'm going to keep doing the same thing. So my biggest advice there is to just make sure your story is a little bit more unique, because the more personalized you can get, the more they remember you. Right. And just to really emphasize, especially if you're a career changer, that it doesn't matter. You're still from a diverse background, but you can still do the job going forward. And I think really just emphasizing those skills that you learned in other areas of your career. So even though you may have not had specific actuarial experience, you still had lots of great experience that you, I'm sure, talked about and helped them see how that would be beneficial in their role. Oh, yeah. I even used working with patients. Because, they ask those behavioral type questions. They go, have you ever had a time when someone, is difficult to work with? And I go, Mm-hmm.
A lot.
A fair few. I even in my interview said, I have been yelled at by different patients, screamed at and all the numbers. And I go, you have to stay professional. And I go, I promise you, no one in the corporate world will scare me more than someone that comes in who's in pain. And you cannot scare me at this level after working with patients. And that was also kind of a funny selling point because it kind of broke that tension. So,
yeah.
And I'll go back one more other thing for interviews as well. As you can obviously tell, I'm a big talker. So a lot of these interviews, just remember that they're people.
Mm-hmm.
Sell yourself as a person. Don't sit there and just kind of be, dredged up. Most of my interviews for the first 10 or so minutes, I was asking them questions.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, what exam are you going for? Oh, you've already passed. When did you pass? Boom, 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 boom. And then that went into the conversation of everything. None of my interviews were straightforward questions. None. Because I drove the conversation to make sure it went the way I wanted it to go, which is how you can really then push it to where you're on your stronger side.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. And just letting them know a bit more of your personality, it really allows you and the interviewer to connect, and it can make a really big difference, because if they see you as someone they would like to work with, someone they can get along with, someone that they have things in common with, it's probably going to give you an upper edge against someone that's just answering questions, thinking they're answering what they want to hear and stuff like that.
Yes. And something I even put in the WhatsApp group as well is to pivot on your points. If they ask you a question and it's something you're not strong on, be a politician and pivot. Push it to what you needed to go. Because I was even asked at one point, so do you have something in this? And I said, well, no, but I have skills in this, this, and this, and this is what I've done to accomplish it. And they absolutely loved my answer because they don't even remember what question they're asking me because I'm pushing my strong suit.
Exactly.
Don't let them sit there and get you on something you don't know. Push it to your strong points and go for it. So,
yeah, I love that. That's a great point.
Yeah, I really think that was one of my stronger suits. And I've had to learn that early on.
Yeah.
How to push it.
So I know a lot of people they do get nervous during interviews and they worry about what they're going to say and stuff like that. And a lot of actuaries, honestly, they're not really great at communication. So is this just something that's natural for you, or is it something that you've worked on?
Well, I will say it is me being very bubbly and all that is a little bit natural. Plus I had to work with patients. So
right.
I already had to talk to people daily, and I had patients that, someone who comes in who doesn't feel well, they don't want to tell you what's wrong. They want you to give them some medicine and go home. Mm-hmm. So I was already very used to, you have to kind of pull or dominate the conversation from the beginning. Mm-hmm. And I am a very strong talker. Public speaking does not faze me. Mm-hmm. Other things do. So we all have our strong points, and this is one. Right, for sure. But I will even say with these interviews, I had some of them who weren't as big of talkers, and I go for it, yeah. Get them to speak. Get them on something that you can, common ground, and just go for it. And that's something that I definitely have a very strong skill in, especially at the interview level. So
that's awesome. And it just goes to show how past experience that seems maybe irrelevant to the actuarial career, it still does help, right? So all your past experience working with patients and stuff, that still helped in you getting this job.
Well, because for one, I was offered 4 different jobs right at the same time. One was with my current company and 3 others were for actuarial positions.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay. So it was really big. 2 of them require you to be able to speak to clients. Okay. So that is a very big push. And I said, I have no problems talking to people. Mm-hmm. I go, I have none. And that was something that they were very intrigued by, just because I could speak. Mm-hmm. A lot of people clam up, and that's why I made sure during every interview to just realize these are people. Right. Nothing bad. Just talk to them like you would casually. They're just trying to get to know you, see what you can do.
Awesome. I love that. Well, thank you. Yeah. One more question I had for you, and then I will let you go. What is one thing, if any, that you would do differently if you were going to do this all over again? Is there anything you wish you had changed, or something you wish you had done differently along the way?
I probably would say no, actually.
Okay.
Because I've got a very unique story. I'm very different from the more typical person. Plus, I look back on my failures now, not really as anything bad, but it's taught me to be resilient, taught me to be very humble and realize that people go through different things and struggle. And that, don't always have such a high and mighty mind, that some things are very challenging. But at the same time, it also taught me that, especially when I started that material, I have no clue what I'm doing. What am I doing with my life? Go for it. Just dive in and just keep going. And eventually it really does start to click. And it starts making sense. And you're going, especially like for the people from coaching actuaries, you're like, Dave, oh, now I get what you're doing. And you just go for it. It just dive on in. So I don't regret anything I've ever done, because it's gotten me to this point. So it's a good thing.
Yeah, I love that. And I also love how you are seeing any failures or things that didn't go like you expected in the past. You're using those as learning opportunities and things that are going to help you in the future. So that's a really an awesome way to look at things. And I wish others would do that too.
No, it can be hard, especially getting that first failure. It's tough, because you think, oh, I thought I could do this, and you really have to be able to bounce back. And
a lot of actuaries or people that went to school and math and stuff, they're very smart and probably have never failed anything before. So when you do eventually fail an exam, which most people do, it can be like, oh my gosh, maybe I'm just not smart enough, or it can be really depressing, that sort of thing. So I totally get that.
And employers, not many will ask about whether you have failed, although I have been asked. And usually they just want to see that you can bounce back. That's all they really want to see, because I think every single person I have spoken to has failed.
Yep,
at least
pretty much.
Somewhere along the line, they failed. It might not have been the first couple. It might have been one of the later ones. At some point, you fail.
Yep.
You just have to realize that this is just part of the process, and go, have a day, soak, the next day, get back on the horse and keep going. And that's exactly what you do.
Yep. And that's how you have to be with actuarial work, right? Like, there's so many exams, and you're probably not just going to fail once. So you just got to keep going, pick yourself up. And so I love that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much. I know this is going to be really, really inspirational for others that are in similar situations as you, and even people that are not and just want to pursue the actuarial career. So thank you for sharing all this with us.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Well, I will talk to you soon. And thank you so, so much for doing this, and also being a member of our programs. I've loved having you and working with you along the way.
Oh, well, thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Isn't JD incredible? It's amazing to see how he really put in the work. He followed the steps in the AAC, he just went for his goal, and he achieved it. JD didn't let anything stop him from pursuing the actuarial career, and you shouldn't either. If you are someone that has been considering the actuarial career for months or maybe even years now, right now is the time to get started. There will not be a better time, because the sooner you get started, the sooner you will be able to get into an entry-level actuarial job. Even if you can just put in a few hours per day or even per week, that is going to be better than not taking action at all. Just like JD, we can help you achieve your actuarial goals in the Actuary Accelerator Community. This is a whole community of other aspiring actuaries that are completely dedicated to the actuarial career. They're inspirational, they're motivated, and they have tons of resources available to them to help them achieve this success. Just think, even in 12 to 18 months from now, you could potentially have an actuarial job. It doesn't take long, it just takes you putting in the work. So if you think the Actuary Accelerator Community could help you achieve your goal, then go check it out. I will leave a link down below in the description. So stop procrastinating, go achieve your goals, and I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.